Today on the show, we have the pleasure of being joined by a Champions League winner, a two-time Dutch Footballer of the Year, five-time Eredivisie winner, a World Cup semifinalist, and a La Liga champion with FC Barcelona. It's Ronald de Boer. Thank you so much for joining the show. I know it's unusual times, obviously with everything going on in the world, but we do really appreciate you taking the time.
You're welcome. Thank you, Dan.
Well, first off, before we get to the FC Barcelona stuff, I do need to ask about the team that you are most associated with, the one that you're currently with, obviously, that being part of arguably the most famous group of players that Ajax ever produced, a young group that upset AC Milan 1-0 in that Champions League final in 1995, Patrick Kluivert becoming the youngest player ever to score in a Champions League final. I know you know all the stats. As young as that group was, where did all that self-belief come from?
Yeah, I think it grew gradually during the games that we played. First the group stage, then the quarterfinal, semi, and the final. We didn't really knew where we were standing at that point of time because it was totally new for everybody. Only Frank Rijkaard was the only one with a lot of experience, and Danny Blind a little bit, the father of Daley Blind. He had some experience, but not more than that in the Champions League. Or at that time, it was still called the Europa Cup one. And that year, they announced it to Champions League. So for us, it was, a jump in deep water, basically. And we had no idea what we were facing and how good the opponents were. But of course, the first start against Milan, and they were the current champion. We beat them 2-0 with very good football. We deserved the win completely. And yeah, that was of course the beginning, but still then you think, okay, maybe they were underestimating us. They thought, we're a champion and we can still do the job. Maybe not focused enough. But then I think, we showed also in the other games that we're not so bad. And every time we thought, that's a great opponent, and then we played against that team, and then, they weren't so strong as we thought they were.
Well, through Johan Cruyff and many others, the connection between Ajax and Barcelona still so strong. So as you work with the next generation of stars, as you're currently doing, do you still see the connections in what both clubs are trying to teach?
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, I think the philosophy is throughout the whole club. So it starts with the youngsters. I think there's the foundation, the pillars of your philosophy. You let boys play like you think they should play, and search for players that have like a DNA, in Barcelona DNA or an Ajax DNA. And I think if you see the players coming through, most of the time you can directly identify that's an Ajax player or that's a Barcelona player, and they're similar styles. So it's always the ball on your feet, with your brain, technical, playing as a team. I think all those aspects. I think you see back also now because I'm very much involved in the youth academy in Ajax, and I see that still, is still throughout the club. And we have some great talents coming through, and you think, that's only happening at Ajax and in Barcelona.
Exactly. There are many similarities as well in terms of what Ajax has always done and what Barca have traditionally done. It was more evident in our eyes when you were there and the years after as well. How important is it, especially in these coronavirus times and financial times that we're going through, for a team to promote from within?
Exactly. I mean, that's the point that you're now making. I think is very important. That it will affect a lot of clubs financially. So they're not so easy to buy players. So you look then probably in your own backyard what you have. But I think it should be always like that. You should always look because I think Ajax and Barcelona, the Cantera, La Masia, has always been so important for the club. If you see the last 10 years, the decade, the most or the best player come through the youth system. And I think you have to believe in that. The only thing different now with Ajax and Barcelona is that Ajax is still continue doing that. Of course, Ajax is healthy, and they sometimes change a little bit the philosophy to buy some exceptional players, but still the youth get a lot of possibilities to show themselves. Barcelona is less. I understand also because the the importance, what is on stake it's bigger than the Ajax. Barcelona has to win the Champions League, has to be champion of Spain. So they're looking for, if there is a good player in the youth, they can directly implement in the team. If it's not available, we buy somebody else who can. It's a shame in one way, because I think you have to have, I say it strongly, the balls to do so. To have the belief that that the youngsters that we train and where we work so many years with, they can do it. Because most of the time, what happens that because they have the understanding of what it is to have the philosophy, they adapt very easily, the youngsters. It's not that they come in a totally different environment. No, they know how the Barcelona is playing all those years already, because they implement the same system at the younger age. So I think what I think is also very important, that you saw it with my brother, you saw it with Luis Enrique, you saw it with Pep Guardiola, with Rijkaard. They always been affected by the academy. Once my brother trained the under 12 and the under 19 for many years. Pep did the second team. Luis Enrique and the same. So they know what's going on there. So they have a very close bond with the youth, and they see, I see some youngsters, I want to give them a chance. And then you see what happened with those youngsters. And I think that is a bit lacking now, what Barcelona is doing, giving the boys a chance. And they get other coaches who come from outside, and it's understandable. They have a view from players from outside, not really from inside. And that's basically what I think the board of Barcelona has to almost implement. I want every year 2-3 players getting a chance to make it the debut. I think that is important. But can you be that strong? Because I know what I said, there's so much at stake, of course, with Barcelona.
Of course, and it always comes from the very top as well. And as you are mentioning, it is all about whoever's leading the club, not necessarily just the coach, but from the very top. And obviously at Barca, we've got elections coming up soon. Will most likely not be this season, will be next season. But it's all about what philosophy they've got. Now, obviously, being from Ajax, from Amsterdam yourself, we've got someone from Holland playing currently in our team. That's Frenkie de Jong. Obviously, a player that was extraordinary for Ajax, coming through, particularly last year, and he's playing for us this year. He's got, in our opinion, he's got all the makings of a fantastic player. But what else do you think he needs to do to blossom in the way that he did at Ajax, at Barca?
Let it put it this way. I think for a youngster to come in a team of Barcelona and play so many games his first year, I think that's exceptional. So people still think, okay, he didn't touch the level what he did with Ajax the last few months that he played in the Champions League, and what we saw with the Dutch team. But I think it's not for many given to play so many games at Barcelona, who's still an unbelievable strong team, and be a regular. So I think he did okay. Because, for example, Matthijs de Ligt, who went to Juve, he had more trouble to start. And I thought, I was almost sure that de Ligt Matthijs could adapt very easily, quickly, and be a regular. But it was the other way around. So I think he did very well his first season, although it was not the ending, but he did okay. And I think now again the players understand his quality, the coach, of course, and I think sometimes I saw him almost left winger or right winger. That's of course not the spot, but he can still do it. He's a team player, and he will roll off his sleeve and work his butt off. So he's a great character, and I know for sure he will succeed. And hopefully he becomes a regular on his favorite spot, because he's a distributor. He wants to give the passes, and you can't ask for Frenkie de Jong to score 20 goals, because he's not like that. He's never been that. He's like a guy who opens up, create an extra man on the midfield, and even when you're on the pressing, he can turn away and then you can play on. It's like a bit like Busquets always did. And he has to now, of course, 2 Busquets in the team is sometimes too much, in my opinion. And of course, they can play with each other. But it's similar type. So I think in a certain time he will probably, because he's getting older, Busquets, he was my all-time favorite on that spot. And but I think if the time comes, I think he can be a great replacement for Busquets.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thinking back to your time playing at the Camp Nou in Barcelona, when you were on the team, what are some of the memories that stand out? And obviously, we already mentioned that you did win a Liga.
Of course, the start. I mean, I scored with my debut against Benidorm, although it was Benidorm, but it's always
I was
nice
there,
to play
Ronald.
Benidorm.
I was there
there.
today.
Yeah.
I was.
So a header from Figo, cross from Figo, and I scored the 0-1, and that is always nice to start. And then the second game was El Clasico in Camp Nou, and we won 3-0. And it was I think Frank and I were announced as man of the match together that game. So it was nice. So it was a great start, and great memories at that time. I mean, if I look back to those almost 2 years, not everything was satisfaction, of course, because I think the moment that I really got my spot and I played every game, I got injured badly on my groin, and that took me like almost 2.5, 3 months to get fit again. And then I lost basically all the nice matches, like the semi-final of Champions League, semi-final of Copa, the final of the league. So that was a shame. And then of course Van Gaal got sacked, he stepped up because of with Nunez. And then there was a new idea about the team, how we get the team organized, and that was a lot of Dutch guys had to get rid of, and then one of was me, because I didn't feel the confidence of the coach, but that happens. But so personally, like I was not really happy, because I think the moment that I really showed who was Ronald de Boer at that time, and where he did very well, and I was playing finally well, I got injured. So that always gives you bad taste in your mouth, and still think, what if I was staying fit? But that happens. But those 2 years, I had a wonderful time in Barcelona.
Well, from someone who was in the stadium at the time and watched the whole of that season, I can say that not for 1 second without your commitment, and it was a pleasure to have you in our team. I've got a question a little bit different. So basically, you played with fantastic players along your years. You've mentioned several, Kluivert, Rivaldo, etc. In Barca at the moment, we've got Messi, who is a little bit good. I'm sure we will agree with that. What is the secret to play alongside these world-class superstars? Because I'm talking in terms of spacing, in terms of understanding each other's games. The clear example obviously being David Villa, who had to accommodate himself to allocate Messi, because Messi basically does what he wants. In your eyes, what is the key? What is the secret to be successful alongside one of these world-class superstars?
I think the key is, of course, that a coach has to find a puzzle that makes him comes in his strength. Messi comes in his strength, so he can do the thing that he's good in and that is so exceptional. So you have to get him always in that position where he can be excellent. So for me, that is the key of a good coach. And of course, you have to find a balance, because you can't only, and that's happened now a little bit with Messi. You can't always give everything to him. Like with Neymar, for example, then you have to also, as an opponent, have to figure out how we could stop Neymar. So it's always a balance, and I think that is important that you find it. But you have to get him in his best possible way on the ball. And I think that is what you have to do, and you have to accept that you have a little bit, a side role in being creative, basically. Still, you have to be creative, don't get me wrong. But if you see Iniesta and Xavi, there were always also guys who were giving the ball. They don't score like 20 goals, but they are giving the forwards the ball, and they will do something excellent. And that is something you have to, as a coach, have to look for. For example, if my forwards score, and what happened many times at Barcelona with Messi and Suarez, and maybe Henry was there, or Neymar, or whatever, you can count already with your fingers. Okay, they score both, or those three, or maybe those four, because sometimes they have another player on the bench who can score goals. That's for sure 80 goals together. So you don't need midfielders, a few midfielders who can score goals, but not too much. Because you have already so many guys who can score a goal. But if you only Messi who scored like 20 or 30 goals, and the other two maybe only 5, then you have a problem. Where the other goals come from? I think that balance is a bit lost now a little bit, because you don't have midfielders who score. Not the front also are only Messi is still continue scoring, but you see you need also from the other side a little bit. And I think that is what a manager has to look for, or a coach, that balance. And but for me, Messi is the best I ever seen in my life. Of course, I don't see Pele and Maradona too much. Of course, I see the highlights, but for me, Messi is far out number one. If you play for so many years on that level, then you're exceptional. And it's always we can praise ourselves that we're lucky that we live in this area to witness this life.
Well, that is certainly music to our ears, Ronald. And we've gone this far, but you and your twin brother Frank were both pretty good players as well. So before I let you go, I have to ask about your brother Frank. He's been a head coach now for about a decade. Do you think his philosophies and approaches have changed as he's taken on different challenges, either obviously starting out with Ajax as their manager, Inter Milan, Crystal Palace, and now I watch a lot of MLS and Atlanta United as
well. I think his philosophy about football, his idea is still about how we've been growing up with Ajax. So he wants to implement, but he's not crazy, of course. If you have Messi in the team and some other players, then it's easier to play a little sort of attacking football. Then you have lesser players with less quality. And I think so. You have to find out, what do I have in my hand? What can I do to make this team win game? Because that's finally you want to do. And so he changed in that idea that you can't be only like blinded and I'm gonna attack, and you don't have the quality in front. So he's of course more conservative and looking from what can I do with this team. Of course, his first attention is to entertain the public, because it's important that people want to come to the stadium and see some nice games, because that is football is all about, in my eyes, and that's what you want to do. But also, in the other hand, you have to in your back of your mind that it's all about winning, and winning gives confidence, and then people will also appreciate, and then you can build on to be more attractive. And I think that is what he's learned. And also what he learns is basically that at Ajax everything is so well organized, and everybody knows what a coach does, especially on the pitch. But for example, with Crystal Palace, you're more a manager. That's why they call it in England a manager. You're more a manager than like a coach, and that you have to learn a little bit. I think my brother had to learn a little bit that they ask different things about you as a coach, as a manager. And I think that is your learning, and now enjoying his time in Atlanta, of course. And I think he had a great first season, so hopefully he can continue to do so. But I think he gets wiser every year and learning from his mistakes, or learning from next year I'm gonna do this, or every half year he knows everything. So he's still young, although we're gonna turn Friday 50 years old. So we're halfway, you could say so.
Well, a happiest birthday from us.
Yeah.
And we also want to
thank you
again, not only happy birthday, but thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. I know we definitely learned a lot as well, Ronald.
You're welcome. Thank you, guys.